beneath a crescent moon and starlit skies, Ember and Twilo reached a glowing archway woven from threadbare mittens, single socks, broken toy pieces, and shimmering stardust. A tiny sign hung above, written in golden crumbs of cookie dust. "Welcome to the midnight market of lost things." Twilo blinked. "Is this where everything that's lost ends up?" Ember grinned. "Everything important, especially things people didn't know they lost." They stepped inside, and the market blossomed around them. Lanterns swung from cotton candy clouds. Stalls twinkled with forgotten dreams, and traders called out softly, "Lost bravery, just one memory a pouch. Misplaced giggles buy one, get one smile." A plump raccoon in a star-speckled vest waved from behind a cart full of mismatched buttons and invisible ink. "Looking for anything special?" "We're not sure," Ember said honestly. "Well then," the raccoon twinkled, "you're exactly where you need to be." They wandered past stalls of childhood songs, courage kept in jam jars, even an entire row of bottles labeled "Ideas You Almost Believed In." Twilo stopped in front of a dusty mirror propped beside a glowing seashell. Inside the mirror, he saw himself, not with a bright glow, but with something deeper, a gentle strength, a kindness so steady it didn't need to shine to be real. "I didn't know I lost that," he whispered. The mirror shimmered, and a note fell out. "Real light doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it just stays." Further on, Ember discovered a tiny cage holding a flickering firefly. "That's odd," she said. "It looks like the first spark of your lantern heart," said an old moth seller nearby. "Sometimes we tuck away beginnings because we think we've outgrown them." Ember opened the cage gently. The firefly zipped out, swirling into her lantern, making it glow just a little warmer. They passed through the stall of forgotten friendships, where Twilo spotted a ribbon he once gave to someone who had long drifted away. He tied it to his wrist with a quiet smile. "I think this glow I'm finding, it's not one thing," he said. "It's all the things I thought didn't matter." At the very end of the market, under a canopy of quiet stars, a tiny booth stood alone. The sign read, "Things Found Again." Inside was a single item, a small glowing stone, Twilo's original glow, dim, but unmistakably his. He picked it up slowly. It was here the whole time. "It waited for you," Ember whispered, "until you remembered how to carry it." The stone pulsed, and Twilo's chest glowed softly, no longer searching, but gathering. A quiet glow, like a sunrise just about to begin. As they left the midnight market, the stalls vanished behind them, returning to the hidden corners of the world where all lost things patiently wait to be found. Beyond the market of lost things, the sky darkened into a deep velvet twilight. Soft stars blinked overhead, not in constellations but in careful rows, as if stitched by hand. Stretching out before Ember and Twilo was a breathtaking sight, a long, floating bridge made entirely of dreams. It shimmered with color blues of forgotten lullabies, golds of whispered hopes, silvers of silent bravery. And at its center, forging each step from light and longing, was the dreamsmith, a tall, gentle figure with glowing hands and tools that sparked with memory. "Only the brave cross here," the dreamsmith said, not unkindly. "This bridge is built from the pieces of your truest dreams, but to step on it, you must trust yourself." Twilo hesitated. "What if I fall through?" The dreamsmith smiled, hammering a beam of moonlight into place. "Then you'll rise in a different dream. You can't fail, only learn." Ember stepped forward first. Her lantern heart flickered steadily, casting a warm path beneath her. Each step revealed memories, kindnesses she'd shared, little moments when she chose hope. The bridge welcomed her gently. Twilo followed. At first, his feet wobbled. A panel beneath him showed the night he hid from a challenge. Another glowed with the time he gave up too early. But instead of cracking, the bridge responded with a hum, and held. "These are still your dreams," the dreamsmith said kindly. "Even the quiet ones matter." They reached the center of the bridge, where a platform of swirling light waited. Around it hovered hundreds of dream threads, like glowing strings looking for hands to hold. "Choose one," the dreamsmith said. Not for what it shows, but for how it makes you feel. Ember chose a thread that pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside it, she saw herself lighting lanterns for others, guiding them across shadowy paths. Not as someone with all the answers, but someone who stayed. Twilo reached for a soft blue thread. It flickered with an image of him sitting beside another child, both of them glowing just slightly. No grand gestures, just quiet company. That was the dream. To be someone who stayed close, even in the dark. "You've chosen well," said the dreamsmith. "Now carry these threads not as answers, but as promises to yourself." The threads wrapped gently around their wrists, becoming small woven bracelets of dreamlight. As they reached the far edge of the bridge, Ember turned back. "Will the bridge always be here?" The dreamsmith nodded. "For anyone willing to believe in their dreams again." And with a warm hammer tap of farewell, he returned to his work, shaping the next part of someone's sky. Ember and Twilo stepped off the bridge, dream threads glowing, hearts steady. Ahead, a gentle fog curled low across the horizon, and the faint sound of laughter echoed from a distant hill. Twilo smiled. "I think I'm not just finding my glow, I'm building it." And Ember, glowing gently beside him, nodded, piece by glowing piece. The path ahead curled upward into the sky, becoming a soft hill covered in silvery grass and dotted with thousands of tiny glowing orbs. Each orb floated gently above the ground like a hovering lantern, warm and whispering. At the top of the hill, a quiet breeze hummed a lullaby only hearts could hear. "This is it," Ember whispered. "The Hill of 100 Hopes." Twilo looked around, eyes wide. "They're floating hopes?" "Yes," she said. "Each one left behind by someone who dared to hope even for just a moment." The orbs shimmered like dandelion seeds caught in sunlight. Some pulsed softly, as if still believing. Others had dimmed a little, waiting for someone to believe in them again. A sign beside the path read, "To rekindle a hope, speak it with kindness. To plant a new one, speak it with courage." Ember knelt beside a flickering orb and gently cupped her hands around it. "This one's old," she said softly. "Someone wished to be brave enough to say, 'I'm scared.'" She breathed warm air onto it. The orb flared gently, lifting higher. Twilo walked among the hopes, listening. Some whispered, "Be seen." Others murmured, "Come home." One simply said, "Let them know I tried." Then Twilo found one that didn't hover. It lay nestled in the grass, barely glowing. It said, "I hope I still matter." He sat down beside it, heart suddenly heavy. "That feels like mine." Ember sat next to him quietly. "Maybe it always was. Maybe it's just been waiting for you to remember." He picked it up carefully, held it close, and whispered, "You do. You always did." The hope glowed, brighter and brighter, until it rose into the sky like a firefly and settled gently into his chest. All around them, the other hopes stirred, lighting up like stars at dusk. The wind carried a soft music, as if 1,000 wishes were exhaling in peace. Then, on a whim, Ember stood up. "I want to plant one," she said. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and said loud enough for the sky to hear, "I hope someone else finds their glow because I didn't give up." A small spark lifted from her palm and joined the others, beginning its journey as a brand new hope. Twilo stood beside her. "I hope that I remember this feeling when things get hard again." His hope floated upward too, just as strong. They stayed until the sky deepened into twilight, surrounded by gentle glows and soft reminders that even the smallest hopes could light the way. And when they walked down the hill, they did so brighter, steadier, glowing not just for themselves, but for all the hopes waiting to be found. Past the Hill of 100 Hopes, the sky drizzled with soft golden drops, not rain. Exactly, but memories in liquid form. Each drop landed gently, blooming into a canopy above, until a wondrous forest unfolded around Ember and Twilo. Umbrellas of every color spun slowly from trees and floated gently above the path. Some dangled from vines, others perched on branches, and many hovered just overhead, spinning quietly like sleepy tops. "This is beautiful," Ember whispered, eyes wide. Twilo reached up as a droplet splashed onto his hand. Instead of feeling wet, it made him remember something. A moment when he laughed so hard, he forgot he was ever afraid. These drops, they carry pieces of who we are. A nearby sign swayed with the breeze. It read, "The Umbrella Forest, where worries rest and courage takes root." As they wandered deeper, they saw small creatures, feathered foxes, rainbow mice, cloud kittens nesting under the umbrellas. They chirped gently, resting beneath the comfort of shade and memory. Ember stopped beside a large, navy blue umbrella that pulsed softly. Underneath it, a scene shimmered herself on a stormy night, scared and alone, but still walking forward, holding her lantern. "This was one of my hardest nights," she said, "but I kept going." The umbrella rippled, and tiny blossoms grew around its base, glowing with pride. Twilo sat beneath a red and gold umbrella. It showed a younger version of him trying something new, fumbling, failing, and trying again. "I was so frustrated that day," he murmured, "but I didn't quit." The umbrella dropped a single glowing feather into his hand, light as a promise. Then, deeper in the forest, they found a clearing. In its center stood a tall umbrella tree, with no color, just soft gray. It trembled faintly, as if afraid. A message hung from its trunk. "This umbrella belongs to the fear you haven't faced." Twilo stepped closer. His glow dimmed a little. "I think this one's mine." He reached out a hand. The umbrella shivered. "I'm scared I'll never be enough," he whispered. The umbrella opened slowly, revealing not fear but all the moments he was enough, and didn't realize it. When he listened, when he stayed, when he tried. The color returned, first pale blue, then blooming into gold. The forest around them rustled with quiet joy. "You faced it," Ember said, her voice warm. Twilo nodded. "And it didn't break me." The umbrella tree dropped a final gift, a glowing pin shaped like a tiny umbrella, which attached itself gently to his scarf. "Courage doesn't mean you're not scared," Ember said. "It means you go anyway." With the forest behind them, and the shade of fears now softened by understanding, the two friends stepped back into the open sky, where the clouds made room for their glow. At the edge of a silver valley, rising from a spiral of wind-blown leaves and broken hourglasses, stood the clock tower of almosts. It ticked not with seconds, but with sighs. The air around it shimmered with memory zones that almost happened, paths almost taken, dreams nearly believed in. As Ember and Twilo approached, the great bronze doors creaked open, welcoming them inside. The tower's interior was filled with floating clock faces, some whirring quickly, others frozen mid-tick. Gears spun gently in the air, each engraved with words like, "Not yet," "Nearly," "If only," and "Close." "What is this place?" Twilo whispered, as one gear drifted past, showing a vision of him almost speaking up in a moment that mattered. Ember pointed to a spiral staircase made of fractured reflections. "It's where all the moments that almost became something are kept." A tiny guide emerged from behind a rusted pendulum, mouse in a waistcoat, with spectacles made of raindrops. "Welcome to the clock tower. Here, we hold space for the brave attempts. Not everything becomes a success, but almosts are just as brave." As they climbed the stairs, each step lit up with their own almosts. Ember nearly helping someone but hesitating. Twilo almost believing in himself during a storm. Ember almost giving up during her longest night. Twilo stopped, heart heavy. "I never realized how many times I almost shined." The mouse nodded. "And each one means you wanted to. That matters." At the top of the tower, a huge clock spun in slow motion. Around its edge were golden hands pointing to moments that had not yet arrived. In the center hovered a glowing orb. "That's your yet," said the mouse. "The things you haven't done but still might." Twilo stepped forward. "Can we turn almost into yets?" Ember smiled. "Maybe that's what the glow is made of." The mouse gave them each a small watch, its face blank. "These don't tell time. They remind you you still have time." As they descended, the clocks began ticking a little louder, not with regret, but with readiness. Before they left, The mouse waved them back one last time. "One more thing," he squeaked. "The glow grows brighter every time you try. Not every attempt needs to succeed to be part of your light." Ember's lantern pulsed. Twilo's bracelet of dreamlight sparkled a little more. They stepped outside as a new hour began, sunlight stretching across the sky like an open hand. And as they walked on, they carried their almosts, not as failures, but as proof that they were always reaching toward the light. Beyond the tick-tock hush of the clock tower, Ember and Twilo followed a winding trail of petal-shaped footprints into a valley of gold. There, nestled between low clouds and sun-dappled hills, stretched a wide, whispering field known as the Meadow That Listens. It was quiet, not silent, but listening. The grass shimmered in soft waves of lavender and honey yellow. Feathery flowers bobbed in the breeze, and every step the two friends took made the air hum gently, like a lullaby just waking up. Ember took a breath. "It's so still here." Twilo nodded. "But it's not empty. It feels like it's waiting." As they stepped further in, small lights rose from the grassestiny glowing orbs that floated just above the ground, drawn to their voices. A curved wooden sign leaned against a wind-shaped tree. "Speak what you need to say. The meadow listens without judgment." Twilo hesitated, then whispered, "I get scared I'll disappear if I'm not helpful enough." A glowing orb floated to him, resting in his palm like a warm teardrop. It didn't fix anything. It didn't rush him, but it made him feel heard. Ember looked into the waving grass. "Sometimes I feel like I always have to be strong for everyone, even when I'm tired." A blossom opened near her foot. Its petals pulsed with a slow, gentle rhythm matching the beat of her heart. They wandered deeper. Creatures of soft light padded between the stems, deer made of moonlight, rabbits of mist, foxes with fur like spun sugar. None spoke, but all listened, their eyes kind and curious. Then they reached the center of the meadow, where a still pond mirrored the sky. Floating on its surface were whispers from travelers who'd come before. "I wish I felt seen. I'm proud of who I'm becoming. I'm learning how to rest." Ember and Twilo sat beside the pond. Twilo whispered, "I think sometimes all I needed was to be heard." "And not fixed," Ember added. "Just understood." The meadow rustled in agreement. They closed their eyes for a while, the hush wrapping around them like a blanket. And when they stood to leave, their lantern and bracelets glowed softly, not from anything new they had gained, but from the weight they had let go of. At the edge of the meadow, a final message bloomed in the grass. "Your glow grows stronger when you feel safe being soft." They stepped onward, hearts lighter, the sky above now painted in peace. Past the gentle hush of the meadow, Ember and Twilo came upon a crooked little path, paved with faded tiles, blues that had turned gray, reds washed to rose, golds dulled like dust-covered treasure. At the path's end stood a curious cottage tucked inside a swirl of mist and memory. Its walls were patchy and pale, its windows clouded with time. A wooden plaque above the door read, "The House of Forgotten Colors, where lost pieces of yourself wait patiently to be found." They stepped inside. The air was quiet, thick with stories. Walls were lined with shelves of jars, each holding colors that seemed dim, almost shy. A bright bell over the fireplace rang softly, as if welcoming them home. Ember moved to a shelf where a nearly colorless jar shimmered faintly. Inside, she saw herself drawing pictures as a little girl. Vivid skies, rainbow rivers, dragons with glittering wings. "I forgot I used to imagine like that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Twilo stood before another jar, this one with a dusty swirl of green. Inside, he saw a younger version of himself laughing so hard he fell over, surrounded by friends he drifted away from. "I used to be silly without worrying if I looked foolish." A voice echoed gently from the walls, not loud, not startling, just honest. "These are not lost, only waiting." In the center of the room stood a table covered in brushes, chalk, ink, and paint that sparkled with memory. "You may take back your color," the voice said, "but only by honoring who you once were and who you still might be." Ember dipped her fingers into a jar of glowing magenta and painted a swirl onto her lantern heart. As she did, She saw the flame within respond, growing wilder, more playful. My glow can be brave and joyful. Twilo used a soft blue chalk to trace a line across his wrist, just above his bracelet of dreams. He smiled as his earlier, sillier self flickered beside him for a moment, dancing, fearless, real. I don't have to be serious to matter. One by one, the jars began to glow brighter as the two friends touched the memories, whispered thank yous, and painted bits of their past back into their present. Before they left, the voice returned. Your color was never truly gone. You simply needed to remember where you put it. The door opened for them, revealing a sky now painted in bold streaks of coral, violet, and sunrise gold, each hue a piece of them, remembered and reclaimed. Twilo grinned. I feel brighter. Ember nodded. Not because we changed, but because we remembered who we already were. Hand in hand, glowing like stories newly illustrated, they stepped back onto the path ahead. The trail beyond the House of Forgotten Colors wove like ribbon through soft, sleepy clouds until it opened into a valley wrapped in hush. At its heart rested a massive silver lake, so still it looked like glass. Trees circled it like gentle watchers, their leaves fluttering with silent sighs. This was the mirror of might-have-beens. It did not reflect the sky or one's face. It reflected paths not taken. This is where the what-ifs live, Ember whispered, her voice cautious but calm. Twilo stepped forward and peered into the water. It didn't ripple. Instead, it shimmered and shifted, showing him another version of himself, one who had never gone on this journey. This Twilo still wore the same dreamlight bracelet, but it was dim, untouched by all the places they'd seen. He frowned. He looked safe, but small, like the glow never had a reason to grow. Ember watched as her own reflection took shape, a version of herself who never lit her lantern, never left home. She looked peaceful, but also quiet in a way that hurt. She doesn't know how strong she is, Ember murmured. The lake glowed softly, a voice rising not from the water but from within their hearts. You are not meant to regret the roads not walked. You are meant to honor the courage it took to choose. Twilo sat at the edge of the lake. Sometimes I wonder if I should have stayed back. Let someone else be the one to shine. But you didn't, Ember said, kneeling beside him. You came. You tried. That's how we became who we are. The water shimmered again, this time, not with lost paths, but with moments they had created by stepping forward, comforting the frightened cloud mouse, laughing under the umbrellas, planting hope on the glowing hill. The mirror no longer showed who they might have been, but who they were becoming. Twilo touched the surface. Thank you, he whispered, not to the reflection, but to himself. The water glowed brighter, then slowly faded back to still silver. A path opened on the far side of the lake, lined with stones that sparkled with stardust. As they crossed it, a gentle breeze carried a final whisper from the mirror. Your journey was never about being perfect. It was about becoming more of yourself. Their lantern and bracelet pulsed gently, as if nodding in agreement. Ahead, the final chapter waited. The sky above grew brighter, not from the sun, but from within. The clouds parted like curtains drawn back for a final act, and ahead, bathed in a soft, living glow, stood a hill unlike any they'd seen. This was the place where glimmers gather, a resting spot for pieces of courage, bits of kindness, and sparks of dreams too gentle to shout. It looked simple, a hill wrapped in soft wind and crowned with starlight flowers, but Ember and Twilo felt its weight in their hearts. Every step they took up the slope shimmered with meaning. Along the way, tiny glimmers rose from the earth, some familiar, others not. A glow from the day of the blooming fog, a flicker from the umbrella forest, a sparkle from the moments they almost gave up, but didn't. Twilo watched as one glimmer hovered near his shoulder. This is from when I shared what scared me in the meadow that listens. Another floated near Ember's lantern. This was when I remembered how to be joyful, in the House of Forgotten Colors. At the top of the hill stood a small stone archway carved with gentle words. Here rests every piece of light you've earned, grown, or remembered. And just beyond it, a breathtaking sight, a glimmering field stretching to the horizon. each tiny light pulsing like a heartbeat. Not stars, not fireflies, but memories. Each one was a moment of bravery, kindness, wonder, or truth. Twilo blinked back tears. All of this? From people just trying their best? Ember nodded. Even the smallest good thing leaves a light behind. They sat on the hilltop together, watching the glimmers rise into the sky and settle into constellations. They recognized some shapes. A lantern, a dream bracelet, a quiet umbrella, a smiling cloud. Mouse. It's like everything we've done mattered, Twilo whispered. It did, Ember said. Even the things that didn't seem big. A warm breeze circled them. A final message carried on the wind. Glow is not given. It is grown moment by moment, try by try. Their lantern and bracelet pulsed once more, then settled into a steady light not too bright, not too showy, but deep and true. They had arrived. Not at an ending, but at a becoming. And in the sky above Silvertwig, in the magical realms beyond it, and in the quiet hearts of those still finding their glow, Ember and Twilo's journey shimmered forever, a part of the light. Thank you, viewers, for glowing with Ember and Twilo. May your smallest moments shine just as brightly.